Hello there everybody, it's Saban92 aka Nightmare, and welcome back to Chaos Head Noah. So, little bit of an interesting little bit of a tidbit. So, in my last recording session, we got to meet a new character, Momose, who was with, Bon. Kinda like an information broker, I'm assuming that's what she was. Well, maybe not an information broker, but that's not the important thing. I was mentioning how I recognized her voice, and I was having a hard time figuring out who it was. Thanks to Britton, by the way, Britton, thank you very much for pointing this out. Her voice actor is, Kujira, who also, voiced characters like Orochimaru in Naruto, Sakura Ogami in Danganronpa, and Totose in Gintama. Orochimaru and Sakura Ogami, because I've heard their Japanese dubs, God, okay, that's right, that was her, seriously, thank you for that, Britton. That honestly helped figure, that was, because I was driving me crazy, where have I heard this voice before? So, thank you for telling me that, Britton. Anyway, I don't know what's real anymore. I legitimately just do not know what is real. So let's get ourselves into this and continue to cause me to have a mental breakdown trying to figure out what the hell's real and what's not at this point, because I'm just like, fuck, I don't know, man. Bullshit! People were hurt! People died! Yeah, dipshit! Yeah? What, did you intend for those people to die? I want to punch you. I don't even know who you are, but I want to punch you. Clearly not. Wait, the deaths bear no import. What the fuck? Okay, never mind, you're all god-awful. The deaths bear no import. Fuck you! Are you guys the Illuminati? Important resources, people, and money.
ご安心を。先ほど申しました通り、すべては想定の範囲内。いずれ近いうちに選挙での票集めに苦労することも、強引な勧誘活動を告発される恐れもなくなるでしょう。
Holy shit, you guys are legitimately the worst. You are actually planning on just taking over people's free will, so that way you can get away with any sort of criminal activity and stay in wow. How fucking realistic.
我々が日本、いや、世界を変える日もじきに。
World domination. Because of course it's gonna be world domination. These bastards are they're just absolute sickos. They're just complete lunatics. They're the ones that are psychotic.
口を慎め。300人委員会への造反が知れれば、我らに待っているのは破滅だけだ。
Wait, Committee of 300? A secret organization shrouded in mystery. Rumored to manipulate the world from behind the scenes, composed of only 300 members, they are known as the Unseen Rulers. Their subordinates include the royalty of numerous nations, intelligence agencies, and large enterprises, with a focus on banking. They're all mere puppets of the 300, as there are any other secret societies that often appear in conspiracy theories. It is said that almost the entire world is bent to their will, whether it be companies, police, research institutes, etc. However, their existence is only a rumor. The Committee of 300's ultimate goal is theorized to be the construction of the so-called New World Order under the Worldwide Human Domestication Project. Outside of the few elite, 1 billion humans will be left behind while others are slaughtered. Those billion that survive will remain as slaves, subject to the ruler's administration. Fuck.
君の役目は計画通りにことを進めることであって、それ以上でも以下でもない。
So in this one, the Committee of 300 is actually real.
調整は我々がやる。
承知しています。
それで第2世代についての報告を聞こうか。
お二人にも満足していただける仕上がりですよ。ノア2はね。
Noah 2? Okay. Are we back in his perspective, I think? I bolted away from school as fast as I could, and I ran and ran all the way to the park. Only when I felt like I was about to suffocate did I stop. My lungs were in dire need of oxygen. As I gasped for breath, I took a quick look around the park. There was no one around. There was no one there I was afraid of. Neither Shogun nor Yua were anywhere to be seen. Relieved, I tried to catch my breath. It was almost evening. The sky's blue was slowly turning orange with the twilight. Compared to the insanity at school that had felt so unreal, this park was completely quiet, just as it always was. The incident from before had ended as a failed suicide attempt. Ayase had then been taken away in an ambulance, but I had no way of knowing what happened after that. After going through all that, I gave up on searching for Rimi and came here to the park instead. The real question is, where is she? It's kind of crazy because he specifically asked for as if she would land in a bed of flowers, and then it happened. So the real question is, I don't even know. Actually, no, I just don't even know. I just don't know what's real. I don't know what's not. The scene from only a few minutes ago was engraved into my mind. Back then, when Ayase's body came crashing down, I'd been convinced that nothing could have saved her. But she had been saved. I didn't know how exactly, but I at least knew she wasn't dead. She had been breathing. Virtually unharmed, too. Under normal circumstances, she would have absolutely died. The thing that had saved her was a total miracle. She'd fallen on top of the tender soil of a flower bed. Something that was physically impossible. It was physically impossible for Ayase to have fallen on top of a flower bed. Because there hadn't been a flower bed there. Just before Ayase had fallen, the place where she was going to fall had nothing but the gray asphalt of a parking lot. A number of the Sume teachers parked there. So how had a flower bed just appeared there? Had I done that? It was true. It was true that at the time I'd been so frightened that I had a delusion about how a flower bed appearing below her could save her. But even then, was it really possible? Was it really possible that the delusion had become reality? Okay, let's consider it. First, I had a feeling that I might or might not have special powers. Second, there was the time Ayase had split in two, and now I just experienced something similar to that. So creating a flower bed in an instant, how could I have achieved something that extraordinary? I didn't even have a D-sword. And on top of that, the flower bed had continued to exist even after Ayase had crashed onto it. When the teachers had rushed to check in on her in the flower bed, their footprints had been visible. The flowers blooming there, which had appeared to be the same as the ones in the courtyard, had been trampled over by the emergency services. When I looked, a number of flowers had either been flattened or had their stems completely bent. And the flower bed might have still been there in that state. The delusion had become reality. And it stayed that way. It hadn't disappeared afterward, which made it different from Ayase's other self. And everyone had accepted the idea that the flower bed being there was only natural. No one even questioned it.
Okay, I was going to ask about that.
Had I seriously done all that?
Oi,
Huh? Is that Senna?
A sharp voice called for me from behind. Before I even got the chance to turn around, a hand grabbed me by the collar. With no chance to resist, I was shoved violently against the playground equipment. Hey! I groaned in pain as my back hit the equipment hard.
Called it.
Oh, come on!
お前だな。
So many delusions. By the way, I'm not really being annoyed here.
あの花壇を作ったの。
So what if I did? It was her, Senna. She was the one tossing me around. She continued gripping my collar with tremendous strength. It grew hard to breathe. I tried to fight back by squirming and flailing around my arms, but she refused to let go. Her eyes were filled with a sharp, murderous light. It sent a shiver down my spine. Thinking I was about to die, I shook my head in desperate denial.
とぼけるな。
I could feel Senna's breath on my cheeks. She was so close. She could rip out my throat with her teeth just like that. Why was this girl so violent and terrifying? Save me. Somebody save me.
お前は天聖信仰会と関係があるのか。
The who and the what now?
Cosmic Church of the Divine Light?
What the hell is that?
Oh, it's fictional. A newly founded religion. Inaugurated in 1930, their public estimate places that number of followers at around 5 million, but the actual number is thought to be close to 2 million. Its members are characterized by their ardent, forceful proselytization, whatever, which often causes repeated trouble for anyone involved. Kuromochi Yudai, the second-generational founder, possesses absolute charisma, and in return, his followers offer absolute reverence.
The cosmic what?
その力を誰から教わった。
Senna's voice was unusually tense. But I had no idea what she was talking about, so I just kept shaking my head over and over.
あんなのありえない。理想度なしでエラーを現実にするなんて。
Turning an error into reality.
お前はその力のことを誰に教わったんだ。誰からだ。答えろ。
I don't know, I just did it, okay? For God's sake! No one had taught me anything! But if I had to name someone... I can't breathe, you're choking me. I'm gonna pass out. I'm gonna die. I'm done, Lord. Ugh. Just before I lost consciousness, Senna suddenly let go of me, and I collapsed to the ground. God, give this guy a break! I kept on coughing, struggling desperately to get oxygen in my lungs. What the hell was she doing? Was Senna my enemy after all? Was she another one of Shogun's underlings? If she was, then I had to run away.
本当に天聖信仰会とは関係ないんだな。
I don't even know what that is. What the hell was the Cosmic Church of the Divine Light? I'd never heard of it. After seeing the confusion plastered all over my face, Senna finally stopped staring at me. She clicked her tongue lightly, then let out a sigh.
悪かった。関係ないならいい。
She mumbled something in an unconcerned tone, then went to leave. Not much of an apology. Guess she wasn't going to hurt me. Then... Mustering up all my courage, I called after her. I'd expected her to ignore me, but instead she stopped and turned around. Her expression remained stern, but she still looked like she was willing to listen to what I had to say.
力って何なの？
Senna knew something. She'd asked me if I'd created the flower bed from before. Everyone but me had recognized the flower bed as something that had always been there, but that didn't seem to apply to Senna.
さっきの花壇どうなって？
お前が妄想したんだろ？
I guess. A delusion? I had, but...
妄想は現実にすることが可能だ。本当じゃないものが景色に紛れ込む。
Objects that aren't real blend into the scenery around us. Okay.
つまり、エラーを現実として認識させる。
And those that aren't aware of this power see it as completely normal. Whereas those of us who are able to affect it, we know that it's not right.
でも
Ergo, error.
視界に映すだけじゃそれって幻でしかないよ。
Illusions were nothing more than that. Illusions. Fake stuff you perceived as real. If that flower bed had just been an illusion, then Ayase shouldn't have survived. The only way Ayase would have been saved was if the flower bed hadn't been an illusion, but entirely real.
世界の仕組みは3つの数字で全て説明できる。0と1、そしてマイナス1。
Huh?
ディソードはそのマイナス1を生み出すためのショートカットになる。だがお前はディソードなしでそれをやった。
There she goes again! More incomprehensible garbage! Wait, but... I realized that what Senna was telling me wasn't just some schizo shit she'd come up with. The VR technology patent did exist after all, so that at least wasn't BS. Senna definitely knew things that I didn't.
いいか、これ以上エラーを作るな。
To be fair, I don't even know how I did in the first place, but okay.
それがお前のためだ。それと他にもエラーを見たら教えろ。
Well, how the hell am I supposed to know there's supposed to be an error? Oh, right. We're the only ones that see that something's different. Oh. We're the only ones that see that it's... I just had a realization. Rimi is an error. Everybody else sees Rimi as if she's naturally supposed to be there, except our main character. Ergo, Rimi is an error, a delusion made reality. Without letting me even get a word in, Senna blasted me with thing after thing. most of which sounded like threats, and then when she was finally done, she turned her back to me.
目に見えるものだけを信じられることがどんなに幸せか。
After spitting out one last murmur, this time Senna finally left the park. I just thought of that, yeah. What if she's not real? The floor of AH Tokyo General Hospital that housed the psychiatric ward was engulfed in silence. Ever since the earthquake had struck, the emergency room and surgical ward had been faced with a difficult situation. Injured citizens who had lost consciousness due to an unexplained symptoms were being carried into the clinic one after the other. The psychiatric ward, meanwhile, was not nearly as involved in the relief efforts, nor were the outpatient facilities, allowing the latter department to conclude its operations even earlier than usual. Over the last few days, patients suffering from PTSD had come pouring in, but at least for today, the psychiatric ward had finished all of its outpatient appointments. A nurse there, Hazuki Shino, realized that she had been working nonstop ever since her shift began the night before, and that she had hardly even taken a break. This obviously left her feeling quite exhausted and, of course, hungry. The psychiatric ward had recently lost one of its doctors in the New Gen incidents, and the person replacing him had yet to arrive, leaving them constantly understaffed. However, despite the shortage, all that remained for today's work were some minor chores that Hazuki could pass off to the next nurse, allowing her to take some time off. Reassuring herself that she only had to persevere for a little bit longer, Hazuki slapped her cheeks with both hands, then began to walk through the empty lobby. Only to suddenly feel a gaze on her back. Chills ran down the nape of her neck. Goosebumps rose across her skin. She reflexively looked behind her, but all she saw was a silent corridor. Not a soul was there.
Huh?
Hazuki jumped in surprise. She heard a voice come from an entirely different direction. The origin of the voice was a single man standing in the lobby, which Hazuki had been convinced was empty. He had called out to her the moment he first saw her. Oh! Hey, there you are! He was a fairly young man and appeared quite virile. His complexion was nearly faultless, and he looked just as, if not, more healthy.
あなたは
ちょっと時間もらっていいっすか？
はあ。
どうもっす。
He smiled awkwardly, abruptly grabbed Hazuki's arm, and started walking her from the lobby toward the stairs. What the? Hazuki, still quite bewildered, watched as the man, Suwa Mamoru, took out a black ID badge from his pocket and humbly held it out to her. It was a police badge. Mamoru, what are you doing? Stopping at the landing of a staircase, Suwa looked around carefully. He seemed to be very concerned with his surroundings.
それで、お話って。
Still having quite a bit of work left to do, Hazuki was feeling slightly restless. Something Suwa seemed to understand implicitly. And then, without any form of introduction, Suwa produced a photo from his pocket.
この少年に見覚えないっすか？
It's Takumi, isn't it? Depicted in the photo was the apathetic face of Nishijo Takumi. Hazuki, confident in her ability to recognize faces due to her profession, nodded her head.
西條拓海。間違いないっすか？
ええ。でも。
Hazuki's hesitation was only natural. Leaking a patient's private information could only spell trouble, even if it was to the police. But this is something Suwa had been aware of prior to speaking with Hazuki. Suddenly, Suwa's light attitude that he had been displaying up until that moment shifted to a far more serious one and began to speak in a low voice.
頼みがあるんすけど。西條拓海のカルテ、こっそり見せてもらえないっすか？
Not trying to play double standards, but, that's not really good. I mean, I realize he's a suspect, but there are certain proper channels you have to do this, right? Also, those are you need a warrant!
そんなの無理です。来ません。
とある事件に関わる重要なことなんすよ。
Now at a complete loss for words, Hazuki tried to leave, but Sua circled around her and blocked her path.
困ります。
迷惑はかけないっす。だから頼みますよ。
As a last resort, Sua got down on his knees.
やめてください。本当に無理なんです。
これ以上犠牲者を出さないためにも。
Hazuki had no idea what she could do to make him give up. Unable to think of any proper way to say no, Hazuki could do nothing but stammer. Oh, we're back. But yeah, I'm just kind of sitting here like, Rimi might actually not even be real. Potentially, she might literally be in error. You know what I mean? Anyway, I was in a bit of a daze after Senna left, but I quickly shook myself out of it and dashed all the way back to my base. Luckily, I hadn't been confronted by Shogun or Yua on the way. In the end, I had to come back home without finding Rimi. With all the insanity caused by Ayase and the earthquake, the school probably let everyone go home early. So maybe if I waited a bit, Rimi would show up. In the meantime, though, I'd have to just suck it up and deal with my own fear. Alone. To distract myself from my growing anxiety, I went to try and gather information on my freshly restored PC. Right as I thought that, the notification light on my phone, which I had set right next to my monitor, started blinking. When I opened it, I saw that I had received a text. I thought it was Rimi trying to contact me, but when I opened it... Oh. It's your sister. Something crazy happened at school today. There was a suicide attempt. It was so freaky. I haven't been that scared in a while. I hope she's okay. Were you at school when it all went down, big bro? Oh, and wow, that earthquake was crazy too. It gave me a really, really bad headache, though. What was that all about? So, she kind of enjoyed being part of the spectators, huh? That's not fucked up at all. Naturally, I didn't send a reply. I searched online for information on Ayase. Phantasm's official homepage was still down. And none of the newspapers had reported on her either. Well, I guess they had their hands full with the earthquake, so they couldn't really spend the time reporting on some random indie singer's suicide attempt. Where things were now, I had no idea. I had no way of figuring out how exactly Ayase was doing, so I switched topics. There was way more information on the earthquake than when I had checked earlier. Apparently, the death count had risen to 118, and the injured went above 300. Wow, I never thought the fatalities would go beyond 100. The epicenter was Shibuya, and it seemed the damage hadn't spread outside of it. It had been a seismic intensity 5 quake. According to one article, most of the magnetic media, that's a new one, within Shibuya had been destroyed. When I thought about how I wasn't the only one to experience such a tragedy, it made my frustration erupt all over again. It was a true, undeniable tragedy. My treasured Moe Pix and Eroge save data, they would never come back. Oh my god, dude. That aside, I couldn't help but feel that this was no normal earthquake. 118 people dying wasn't normal. And of course, that abnormality had grown into a hot topic of discussion online. You guys think this earthquake was caused by whose eyes are those eyes guy too? What the hell? Whose eyes are all those eyes for the win? Yeah, 100%. How else would 118 people die in an a seismic intensity 5 earthquake? Like, what the fuck, LMAO? Jesus Christ! How are they all such uncaring assholes? I tried to think back to what had happened during the earthquake. First, I'd been hit by a tremendous impact. My head felt like it was boiling, exploding even. A sensation I had never experienced before. Getting hit by something that bad, dying from shock wouldn't be all that surprising. Telling myself that I shouldn't stick to just the internet, I decided to watch some news on TV as well. My PC had a TV tuner attached to it, so that was why I didn't have nor need an actual TV.
現在までに死者118名、重軽傷者300名以上と非常に多くの犠牲者が出ていることが分かっています。さて、渋谷の駅前と中継がつながったようです。島谷さん、現地の様子はいかがですか？
Oh.
2005年に同じように震度5の地震が東京であったんですよ。その時はゼロで、なぜ今回は100名以上の被害者が出ているんですか？
Oh, damn. Huh. So right there is where the seismic intensity 5 was, and then spreading out, it gets a little bit weaker.
被害者の数は震度に比例するわけじゃないんです。そこには様々な要因がありまして。
Oh, wait a minute. I'm stupid. Those are the number of people that died. Error were
亡く
injured.
なった方の死因や病院に運ばれた負傷者の容体については未だ詳しい情報が入っておりません。また渋谷区を中心に磁気メディアが全壊してしまっていることについて今日は専門家にお越しいただいております。
地質学産業研究所より林原泰造先生、財団法人地質調査環境センターより小沢幹人先生にお越しいただきました。
林原さん、今回の地震について磁気メディアに深刻な被害が出た原因というのはどういうところにあるんでしょうか？
まず知っておいていただきたいのは、渋谷区あたりの地下200メートル付近には磁鉄鉱、つまり天然の磁石が多く埋蔵されている地層があるということですね。
Okay.
地層の分類としては火成岩層ですが、私たちはこのエリアを磁鉄鉱の谷、マグネタイトバレーと呼んでいます。地中にある磁石の谷ですね。文字通りかなり大規模な岩脈なんですよ。ここにですね、今回の地震のような大きな刺激が加わったとするならば、その影響で地上に存在する磁生体、主に磁気メディアの持つ記録部に、致命的なダメージを与えてもおかしくはないんです。
何をバカな。
小沢先生は別の意見ですか？
確かに渋谷の地下には巨大なマグネタイトの岩脈があることは事実です。ですが磁石と呼ぶにはあまりにも微弱なこのマグネタイト群にはですね、地上の磁気モーメントや安定磁場を崩すほどの力はないというのが通説になっています。
This kind of strikes me as like one field is supposed to be like, we're going to control the flow of information. This is what happened. And then they bring on somebody else that says like, no, this is what happened. Typical.
実際ですね、過去にも震度5の地震は何度も発生しています。過去のそれらの地震では今回のような被害はなかった。なので原因は別にあるのではないかと考えるのが妥当だと思います。
This guy's probably trying to think outside the box, maybe.
そうは言うがね、今回の異常な犠牲者数についてはただの地震では片付けられない何かがあるのが事実なわけであり。
Right. Like, God, that many people dying?
渋谷にいた人のほとんどが頭痛がしたって訴えていることからも間違いなく磁鉄鉱が関係している可能性が。
You are really trying to settle that it's the magnetite, but
地場ごときで100人も殺せると主張するおつもりですか？
Yeah, huh?
それではここで CM です。
結局詳しいことは何もわからずか。
Apparently they don't. Right after the earthquake, there'd been a huge white mist floating above Shibuya. It turned the sky completely white, and yet it hadn't even been mentioned on the news. When the information had been fresh, everyone made sure to report on it. But now they were acting like it had never happened. Something about that just felt wrong. Oh. Oh boy. The off-hours entrance to AH Tokyo General Hospital featured an area where ambulances could pull up alongside the building in order to deliver emergency patients. 2 ambulances were currently parked there, and paramedics were carrying those injured during the earthquake into the hospital. A doctor wearing light green surgical scrubs and the middle-aged head nurse accompanying him were loudly directing the paramedics through the process. The area around the off-hours entrance was already lined with patients waiting to receive treatment, the sheer number of which indicating how busy the doctors truly were. There were 2 types of patients getting carried into the hospital. First, the ones suffering from physical trauma. Patients would come with blood flowing from their arms, legs, and foreheads, their faces contorted with pain. While their state made them difficult to be looked upon, their treatment had been relegated to a lower priority. The other type was those who were unconscious despite showing no signs of physical trauma. These patients were prioritized. The number of unconscious people was awfully high among the emergency patients brought in from this particular earthquake. Such a huge number had not been observed following the previous major earthquakes. It was an entirely new phenomenon. Moreover, the doctors were not able to explain the reason why so many of them had fallen unconscious. Okay, that was weird. Another ambulance arrived at the hospital, its siren blaring loudly. When the emergency responders disembarked from the ambulance, a doctor asked the patient's condition, and a paramedic immediately responded with, Uh-oh. That was all it took. In a normal situation, the doctor would have protested, asked for more information. In such an unprecedented, chaotic situation, one would have expected that just shouting, "Top priority!" would be answered by a succinct, "You don't say!" No, that's me. That's me being a smartass. And yet surprisingly, both the doctor and the head nurse merely gave a light nod, then proceeded to help unload the stretcher from the ambulance. The person lying on the stretcher was Kishimoto Ayase. She was unconscious, yet faint moans escaped her lips. Oh. Paying no mind to the resentful gazes of the injured patients sitting around the entrance, the doctors and paramedics hurriedly carried the stretcher inside the hospital. There you are! Where have you been? A girl stood at the hospital's main entrance, observing the situation from a distance. Saki Hatarimi's eyebrows furrowed atop her stern expression. Her teeth sank into her lip.
Kishimoto-san.
I was wondering where you were. Obviously, I was concerned about the earthquake, but Shogun was way more of an issue to me. I couldn't get him out of my head. And speaking of, my headache was more or less gone, but anxiety had already swooped right on in to replace it, as did the depression that came with being alone. I still hadn't heard from Rimi. I tried to call her myself, but it had gone straight to voicemail. Up until now, Rimi had always come dashing in to rescue me, to tell me everything would be fine. So of all days for her not to do that, why today? Hadn't she told me that she would always stay by my side? I gritted my teeth, and then as a way to escape my anxiety, I decided to focus entirely on reconfiguring my PC. First things first, I needed to fix the settings on my email software. It had been forever since I'd first set it up, so I couldn't remember how exactly to do it.
So, the first thing that I had to do was find the instruction manual that had been included with the email software provided by my ISP. Despite not putting in much actual physical work, I found myself drenched in sweat. I'd nearly given up out of frustration multiple times throughout the process. It had ended up eating a full hour of my time, half of which was spent trying to find the damn manual, just to recover my email address. Well, now that I had it back, I should check it right away.
メールだよボケナス
Where do I even... You know what? Let's start from the top on your emails, my dude. From Kenzo. Readied up, a sexy college-age lolly. From Ruriko. My husband cheated on me. From Nanami. Your sister. Whose eyes are those eyes? Information. Urgent applications needed. Or applicants needed. 20 positions open. Chibana, I had a great time last night. Bang. And from Shin, have mind-blowing... Oh my god. I'm a hopeless perv. Be my... Wow. My god, dude. I could finally hear that voice again. I felt so relieved. All that pain and suffering had all been worth it. Jesus Christ. I had 8 new emails, all of which were spam. Even your sister's. Actually, hidden among the spam was an email with a strange subject line and an even stranger sender. I groaned reflexively. What the hell? Was the Nami trying to prank me? If she was, then it was a pretty shitty thing to do. I genuinely wanted to punch her in the face. No, wait a minute. There was no reason for me to get an email from a Nanami. She had never contacted me using my computer's email address before. She'd always just texted me on my phone like she had earlier. And not only that, but I had never even given her my email address. Was it just a coincidence? A fluke? Nanami was a common first name after all. And the phrase, whose eyes are those eyes, had become so popular, pretty much everyone was using it. There was nothing strange about it being used as a subject for a spam email. But just to soothe my anxiety, I decided to check the contents.
結構な長文だな。さっきはチャットで話ができて楽しかったよ。ちなみに送信者の名前はダミー。
What?
僕の名前は将軍だよ。
It was fun talking to you. Ignore the name. It's an alias. My name is Shogun. Oh my god! Shogun? No, it couldn't be.
将軍が僕のメアド知ってるはずが。
Wait. What if Shogun had read my mind? If he'd done that, figuring out my email address would be child's play.
嘘でしょ?
Okay, what we got here? I'm glad Ayase-san is safe. I initially planned to paint her as the next victim of my new-gen canvas, but suicide works too. You've outdone yourself, Takumi-kun. You got a new high score. I'm very impressed. You really are something special. But enough about that stuff. Let's talk about Nishijo Nanami-chan. Don't you dare! The two of you are siblings. So I'd love to see some juicy drama unfold between you two. Ever since the earthquake hit, Shibuya's been pretty bloodthirsty. Whether we can reach a conclusion so touching, it'll blast all that away in an instant. That's up to you. It's real hard to clear quests unarmed, isn't it? You're a hero, so don't you feel you deserve a legendary sword to match? I know you do. So I hope you're looking forward to what I've got in store for you. As I read the email, seeing how friendly he was acting toward me only served to creep me out even more. This guy, he was insane. Why would he? At 9 p.m. tonight, I want you to come to the roof of O Front. You're gonna be on TV, so make sure you put on a heroic tunic. Now then, let the quest to rescue Nanami begin. P.S. Before I forget, did you get my present? Okay, so he's targeting his sister now. He was talking about quests and high scores. Like this was some sort of game.
僕が勇者なんかじゃない。ナイトハルトじゃない。
He was planning to finally kill me. I couldn't go. There was no way I could go. I wanted to run away. Remy, I need you to protect me. Why wasn't she answering me when I tried to contact her? Maybe she'd been injured in the earthquake? But back when I'd seen Misumi-kun, he didn't mention anything happening to her. I picked up my phone and checked if I hadn't gotten any calls or texts from Remy. Are you not gonna notice that he's targeting your sister? Remy, where did you... As I thought that, something stopped me. It was my texts. At the top of the list, I could see the text Nanami had sent me earlier. Was Nanami okay? I read Shogun's email again from top to bottom. But enough about that stuff. Let's talk about Nishijo Nanami-chan. Now then, let the quest to rescue Nanami begin. What? What was that supposed to mean? Forget that. I should call. Just call Nanami. I opened the address book on my phone. Only 3 numbers are registered there. Remi's, Nanami's, and the number from my parents' house. Nanami was always nagging me to call her. Every time we saw each other, she'd bug me about it. Well, since she asked me so many times, I guess I could throw her a bone. So please answer. If you don't, I'm never calling you again. I swear to God, if you got injured during the earthquake and aren't answering because of it, I'll never let you hear the end of it. I selected Nanami's number and pressed the call button. I put the phone to my ear. I heard nothing. The ringing tone didn't start automatically. It was normal for my phone to take a second whenever I called with it, but right now, that 1 second of silence felt like an eternity. I was getting increasingly antsy.
早くしてよ。よし、つながった。
Oh God. Huh? What? The present. That sound. What was that sound? I pulled my phone away from my ear. An unfamiliar melody echoed throughout the room. Could it be a ringtone? Whose phone was ringing? Can I adjust it? But with the timing, what else could it be? I shook my head. I never heard Nanami's ringtone, so there was no proof that the melody I was hearing was it. No proof at all! I was getting scared now. I pressed my phone back to my ear. Nanami still wasn't answering. Please pick up the phone already. She picked up!
ななみでしょ。返事しろよ。今どこにいるんだ。大丈夫なの。何か言って。ななみ
実は。
Huh? What the? Something weird was going on. It was almost like I was hearing Nanami not just through the phone, but from somewhere really close by, too.
お前、一体どこにいるんだ。
上。
What?
上？
My gaze wandered upward. Something was moving on top of my bed. A person. Someone was wriggling around up there, and because of how little space they had, eroge cases crumbled up to the floor as they did. Don't tell me.
そこにいるの？
見つかっちゃった。
Huh? My guess had been right. Nanami peeked out from atop the bed with an apologetic look on her face. Had she just been hiding this whole time? But since when?
何が手だよ。それより車椅子の怪しいやつに会わなかったか。
As she got off the bed, I examined her from top to bottom to see if she was hurt anywhere.
鬼、ちょっと落ち着いてってば。
聞いてるんだ。答えろよ。お前、本当に大丈夫なのか。
それって将軍のことだよね。
まさかあったのか。どこで何をされた。
I grabbed Nanami by the shoulders, desperately pressing her for an answer. Jesus Christ! Yes, Nanami could be a huge brat, but if Shogun had defiled her, it'll be all my fault. Shogun had put his hands on her as a means to provoke me. To him, she was just collateral damage.
ごめん。
I was so ashamed. I started to cry. I was causing problems not just for myself, but for those around me. Harmless otaku, my ass. I was a failure, not just as a brother, but as a human being. I was scum. Complete and utter scum.
鬼、泣いてるの？もしかして、ナナのことを心配してくれてる？
ごめん。僕のせいで。
Damn.
泣かないでよ。困ったな。実はあの将軍のメール、ナナのいたずらなんだ。
Get out.
は？
Get this silly, shitty music out of my sight. This is what I get for choosing the green thing? Him just... Okay, you know what? At least Nanami's okay. But good God. I have a sick feeling that if I did nothing, that something... that she would probably be in trouble. Potentially. However, because I chose a green delusion, I manifested an error and she was safe. But I don't know. I couldn't process what she'd said. I was stunned.
つまり、将軍ってナナだったの、最初からずっと。
Bullshit!
お兄があまりにもナナの相手してくれないからちょっとからかうつもりでつい。
はあ。
だからね、ナナは誰に にも何にもされてないし、全くピンピンしてるよ。お兄が泣くことなんてないの。わかった？
お前。
I was relieved. Upon learning that she'd deceived me, the release of all my tension and fear made me cry even harder. I couldn't believe that she'd do that to me. And I was pretty upset that she'd been screwing with me for so long, but none of that mattered right now.
ふざけんなよ。
ごめん、本当にごめんね、お兄。差し入れ持ってきたから、それで許して。
What the hell? She held her hands together as if in prayer and she apologized to me. And then she carefully took out the paper box that had been hidden in the corner. Inside the box were 4 tiny cakes, 2 Mont Blancs and 2 cheesecakes.
どう？美味しそうでしょ？まあ、当然だよね。ナナの手作りだもん。お兄のために作ったんだからね。
Bro!
ほら、一緒に食べよう。
Nanami put the box on my desk, then placed 2 cakes each on 2 different paper plates that she'd set out. No idea where they'd come from, though.
ねえお兄、ナナのこと心配してくれてありがとう。
Well, screw you for giving me 350 heart attacks!
すごく嬉しかった。お兄にもいいところあるじゃん。
I was gonna make some crazy positive things that yeah, deep down he bitches and moans about it, but for real, he cares about his sister. And then his sister pulls this shit? And this is probably only because I chose the delusion.
泣いちゃったのはちょっと情けなかったけどね。
Shut your mouth, you lying, backstabbing bitch! My pride had been torn to shreds. I'd been deceived, betrayed, and I even ended up crying. I couldn't even believe how pathetic I was, how stupid I was.
でも、お兄がナナのお兄でよかった。
She smiled at me happily. It was a more peaceful sight than I was used to. How nice would it be if that was what actually happened? Yeah, that was nothing more than just an overly convenient, easy-to-swallow delusion of mine. Nanami still hadn't picked up, and the sound of someone's ringtone continued to echo throughout the room. Okay, so, yeah, okay. She's still kidnapped. The melody was a happy-go-lucky one, something that was in harsh contrast to my current state of mind. The sense of dread within me was gnawing, or growing. Both. Fuck, it's both. There was no getting around it. Nanami's phone was in this room. I couldn't think of any other explanation. I couldn't avert my eyes from reality anymore. P.S. Before I forget, did you get my present? This wasn't happening. It couldn't be. It didn't matter how much sense it made, it just couldn't be true. I slowly lowered the hand holding my phone. I couldn't even blink. My throat was dry as a desert. Even still, I searched for the source of the sound. This time I slowly, ever so slowly examined each and every object scattered throughout the room. I hated myself more than ever for not cleaning my room. If only I was more organized, I could have spotted where it was coming from immediately. Where the hell was it coming from? Oh. That box. The song was coming from inside it. It was the size of about 2 eroge cases. I didn't think you'd be using eroge as a measurement system, but okay. At first I thought it was something I'd bought online, but there was nothing printed on it. There wasn't a shipping label either. It was sealed with duct tape. Had this large box always been here? Had it fallen from the bed during the earthquake?
Yeah.
It couldn't have been. I've never seen it before. If it was something I'd bought online, I would have opened it straight away. If it was something I had sold and was shipping to someone else, I'd have sent it off the moment I sealed it up. For a second, I considered that maybe Nanami had dropped it off, but I couldn't remember her bringing a cardboard box of this size.
which could only mean during the hour I'd been at school, someone had entered my base. I have a present for you. I hope it pleases you. My heart was beating out of my chest. In a panic, I went to check the lock on my door. A chill ran down my spine. Earlier in the day, when I'd wandered outside my base, I didn't remember locking the door. And I couldn't blame myself. At the time, I'd been suffering from a stabbing headache and I was really dizzy. When I'd come back home from school an hour later, I hadn't locked the door then either. Anyone could have easily gotten in. Was it Shogun? Had Shogun really broken in? I looked at the box again. The song was still playing. Nanami's phone was in there. I nervously lifted the cardboard box. It was heavy. With how heavy it was, there was no way there was just a phone inside. It weighed about the same as 500 milliliters of soda. Again, odd unit of measurement, but okay. I was hesitant to open it. I had a very bad feeling about this. You have to. But there was nothing else I could do. I had to open it. I was too worried about Nanami. She was a total brat, but at the end of the day, she was still my little sister. Immediately, brother mode finally returns here. Like deep down, he does care about his sister. Nanami's phone was in the box. In other words, someone had taken her phone from her. Now then, let the quest to rescue Nanami begin. That had been in Shogun's email. I looked at the clock. It was already past 7:30 p.m. Nanami might be in danger. I had no choice but to open it. My heart refused to stop pounding. Large drops of sweat began trickling down my forehead. With a moan, I wiped away the sweat with the back of my hand, and then I slowly tore off the shoddily applied duct tape. Mumbling that like a prayer, I opened the box. Inside was a lump of aluminum foil, packed carefully with cushioning material. I peeked fearfully inside the box, but the phone was nowhere to be seen. The song was coming from inside the foil. Sweat got in my eyes and it stung. Before I knew it, my entire body had gotten soaked in sweat. How often do you get soaked in sweat, dude? No, I can't do this anymore. Why me? Why does it have to be me? I nearly said those tearful complaints aloud. I pleaded with Seirotan for comfort, but she didn't say anything. A myriad of delusions swirled within my head, so much that it felt like it was on the verge of exploding. I couldn't even focus hard enough to have a delusional conversation with Seirotan. My mind was racing so fast I couldn't even think straight, and yet despite the near shutdown of my brain, the happy-go-lucky melody from the phone kept assaulting me relentlessly. Having made up my mind, I pinched the edge of the aluminum foil with my fingers. Closed my eyes, held my breath, and tore off the aluminum foil in one go. I could hear the song even more clearly than before. I was too afraid to open my eyes. Fucking give it a fucking VA, my god! I tried as hard as I could to catch my breath, but to no avail. It was fine. Everything was fine. There was nothing to be afraid of. It was just a harmless prank from Nanami. Just wait.
Any second now, Nanami was gonna burst into the room with a big smile on her face, yelling, "Surprise! I got you!" Yeah, I was sure of it. There's no reason to even consider anything else. When she did that, I'd lay into her like never before. Then I'd never talk to her ever again. Go on, Nanami. Prove me right. I had to open my eyes. I couldn't keep staring at the darkness. Not looking at it was only making things worse. All it did was force me to imagine what horrors might be inside. I couldn't handle any more terrifying delusions. And so, I slowly opened my eyes and saw it. Oh my god! Please let this be a delusion, though. Lying in the foil was a hand. A cleanly severed, slender hand. Grasped in that hand was a phone identical to mine. And wrapped around its wrist was...
へえ、かわいいバングルじゃん。じゃあさ、これナナにちょうだい。お兄、どう？似合う？
A yellow leather band that had turned crimson. The bangle